out for a ride. It is Monday, May 24th, I believe. I plan to take the day off today to go riding, and of course it is rainy, as it seems to always be when I'm getting out to ride and film. But that doesn't stop me. I gotta get out here, enjoy what I can while I can. So we're gonna make the best of it, try to ride all day. I'll film what I can, and hopefully not get too wet. And really no complaints about the rain. I'm just happy to be able to get out. It's been quite a year so far with work. I know one of my previous videos, you know, I was talking about work-life balance and all that, and boy, putting that to the test this year. Getting out riding has been very minimal. Putting in a lot of hours at work, but work is giving me quite a bit of comp time. You know, I basically maxed out my comp time, so needed to spend some, so that's why I'm out here today. You know, just trying to take my opportunities when things are slower at work to get out and enjoy. Over the weekend, my wife and I actually did a little bit of camping, just an overnighter. Came out, it's a similar area out here where I've camped before. She brought one of our dogs in the truck, and I rode the bike just because I needed to get out and ride the bike, you know. And yeah, we had a really good time. It was nice. Beautiful night, clear. Moon was bright. I mean, you could see your moon shadow. It was gorgeous. Just we had a really nice time. We've had a few mishaps on some of our camping trips, and we just wanted to do a kind of a baby one to get out and prove we still got it. Just prove you know, we can actually get through a night of sleep and do it with the dog. And it did get pretty cold, but I was bundled up in my sleeping bag in my tent. She had kind of a quilt, one of those Zenvivi quilts, and probably would have kept her warm enough, just that, but she also had a big down comforter that she snuggled up with the dog. And yeah, had a good night, and then a great morning to follow. Made breakfast over the fire, steak and eggs and potatoes, and really enjoyable. This is one of my favorite areas to ride, if you haven't noticed from my Instagram. And picked the wrong time to sit down. Got myself off balance there. So the bike's been through some changes, had some problems with it for about a month. Couldn't figure it out. You know, I'm not a carburetor guy by any stretch of the means, so troubleshooting that was a big learning experience for me, you know. And it had, you know, DR650 known for just being horribly tuned from the factory, and I had done the bare minimum and rode it like that for a year, and it was, you know, it was rideable. It was doing all right. Certainly not the stellar performance machine, not that they ever are, but definitely more capable than I had it set up. And anyway, it was acting weird, just progressively getting worse over the, probably from the beginning of April to when I finally figured out what was wrong. But that spurred me to, I've been sitting on a jet kit for a long time, and you know, I had done the fuel mixture screw. I put the extended mixture screw in, you know. That was probably the first thing I ever did to it, which helped a lot. You you know. But I hadn't done anything else. Had really mixed emotions about getting the carburetor apart, because the screws from the factory are so tight and they're so soft that they want to strip. So I had, you know, JIS screwdrivers, impact drivers for a long time, just sitting there trying to, I guess, muster up the courage to do it. And when the bike started acting up, I was like, well, I got to get into that carb anyway, see if I can figure it out. So went ahead, and I didn't put a bigger jet in yet, but I did change the needle, clean the carb, and after doing that, the problem I was having stayed there. It was the same problem. The bike, so the problem was it wanted to stall at idle after being ridden. So I'd ride, you know, and it also took a lot longer to warm up, to be able to run right without choke. Ooh boy. So ended up taking the carb apart and cleaning it and put it all back together. Still same problem, even after all that changes, and re-cleaned it, messed with the tuning, you know, with the fuel mixture screw, idle screw. Nothing helped. I'd get to a stop sign, it would idle way down and want to stall, or would just outright stall just when coming to a stop, or even just pulling the clutch in sometimes and coasting, it would idle way down and stop. So I mucked around with it, figured, okay, well, let's look at other things. Is it the petcock? No. Is it the something wrong with the gas cap, like the vent? No, didn't seem to be. Everything seemed to be working. What ended up, well, I had been saving for a long time. Sorry, this is kind of a disjointed story, but it'll come together. I've been saving up like 25 bucks a week for a long time. Man, that file's always pretty. Which is usually how I'll save for, you know, fun shit. I'll just put back 25 bucks a week into my fun pile, and then buy something after a while. Ended up, well, I just got enough to buy a tank. I'd been saving for a tank, a bigger tank. I had actually been wanting the IMS, I think it's 4.7 or 4.9, I can't remember which one, what size it is. But started looking at the Acerbis 5.3 and, you know, realized, well, I like the looks of that better. So anyway, I had enough to buy it. So pulled the trigger, bought it, went ahead and ordered it, and figured, well, I'll leave the bike apart since the tank's gonna be here in a couple days. I'll leave the bike apart after all that last work that I did, you know, having the carb off again, cleaning it, all this stuff. And so the tank comes, I get the tank, I rinse it out, you know, put it on, you know. Obviously one other thing I'd done is took the old tank off and took the petcock off and looked at the filter on the petcock, and it looked fine. Petcock vacuum was working fine. So I figured, okay, well, the new tank comes with its own petcock. Oop. Jesus, dude, slow the fuck down. New tank comes with its own petcock. Also comes with also bought a new fuel filter. Figured, okay, well, you know, that's the last piece was the fuel filter. Inline fuel filter. I'd already had one, but I've been on there a year. Figured, well, I'll just change that out just to be thorough. I don't know how long you're supposed to keep them, but couldn't hurt to change it out. They're cheap. So lo and behold, you know, I get the tank, I get it on, or actually before I get it on, I'm draining a little bit of gas from the old tank into the new tank just so I could swish it around, you know, just to rinse out any kind of plastic shavings or manufacturing materials out of it. And while I'm doing that, you know, on the I had left the fuel line on the old tank to kind of be able to direct the flow of the fuel a little bit better. And I noticed that around the inflow point of the fuel filter, the old fuel filter, I'm getting a drip of gas as I'm draining the gas out. Like, what the heck is going on? And then so I mess around with it a little bit, and I noticed that the clamp that I had on there was loose, and I noticed it's not clamping down very well. And I had to open my visor, so hopefully it can still hear me. I could pull the line right off easily, just without any effort. So that was weird. And then, you know, noticing that drip, so I kind of pushed the, wow, it's really foggy. I pushed the line onto it, you know, just hold it there a little bit, and the flow stops. But so what does that tell me is that, you know, the fact that when the line was installed, there's a little bit of back pressure on the, you know, physical back pressure on the line from the bend in the line, probably holding the line tight enough that no gas is flowing out. I never saw gas flow out of it until that time. I never noticed it, never smelled it, never had like stain on my pants or anything. Ooh, boy, it's foggy, guys. Last time I came up here it was snow. That was like in October or something. So, long story longer, as they say, replace the fuel filter, replace the fuel line, replace the clamp. So I think that was still the stock fuel line that I had cut to put the inline fuel filter in before. So, you know, it's not the most robust stuff. It's kind of flimsy compared to what I got. The stuff that I got is a little bit more thick-walled and stiff. And obviously the clamps I had would hold on to it better. They were the right size clamps. I think the springiness of it wore out or something from being messed around with too much or something. I don't know. I really don't know. Metal fatigue or something made them less springy. Boy, oh boy, this is a lot rougher than it used to be. So anyway, get the tank back on, the new tank on, fill it with gas, start it up, seems okay, and then I had, you know, it was bedtime. Wait for the next day after work. I didn't want to start riding it and tuning it and then have to go to bed because it was getting kind of late. I'd have to finish up before I was really done. So I decided, well, I'll wait to ride it and test it in the morning, or in the next day after work. So next day after work. Sorry, this is really long. I'll edit it out some or make it own damn video, but ended up so I come out to the garage when I get home. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ride this up to the gas station because I needed more fuel, and I didn't want to put all the fuel from the old tank in. We'll go this way today. We'll come back that way. I ride up to the gas station, or I start the engine up to ride up to the gas station. Oh shit. You know what, I'd put probably a gallon in, I'd say, into the tank. start the engine. Starts up fine, sits there. I'm letting it warm up just for like a minute, you know, just getting my gear on. And turn on put my gloves on. I'm about to kick a leg over, and the engine quits. Just quits. I'm like, what the hell? Won't start. I'm like, oh no, what did I do? Well, apparently 1 gallon in this big tank is not enough to be off reserve, or not. When you're down to 1 gallon, you need to be at reserve or near a gallon. So I'm looking at it. I'm like, what the heck? And then I see that the inline fuel filter has no fuel in it. So I'm like, oh, I bet I'm almost out of gas. And I look in there. I can see it switching around, but I can see the top of the petcock, and I'm like, oh, that's it. So I switched it to reserve, gas flowed in, it was fine. Rode it to the gas station, rode fine, didn't stall. So I think, and ever since it's been running great. Everything else I did to it, you know, some of the other issues I'd been having, like with the increased duration of needing choke, that went away. The surging issues that I've had since I brought it home from the dealership, that went away. I assume because of the needle. I also, the other thing I did was pulled the snorkel, but everything else I left alone. Man, my visor is fogging like a mother. Where my glasses are, I think it's both. So the moral of the story is, if you don't, you know, I really had separated everything out, and nothing I was doing to the carburetor made any difference to the actual behavior I was trying to correct. Oh, and the other thing I did was I even checked the valves. Like, it was about due for the valve clearance check, and I had read that, yeah, this can be a behavior of the valves being too tight. So I checked the valves and they were fine. I've never checked valves before. This is the first time. Hopefully I did it right. You know what I mean? But super easy to check them. I didn't have to adjust them. That's the thing I don't know that I know how to do, but at least I know how to check. Learned on this bike. First time I've checked motorcycle valve or any engine valves my whole life, and 40,000-ish miles of riding a motorcycle. Always took it to the dealership for that, or a mechanic. Not always the dealership. But anyway, if that hadn't worked, if all of that, I couldn't have solved it. I was down to taking it to a shop because I just wanted to ride. I was getting, you know, I hadn't ridden really in a month of screwing around with that. I was just about to give up, but found that one thing. You know, if you look online for that kind of issue, it's everything. It can be everything. Everybody's had something else that fixed it. You know, oh, I ran seafoam through it, or something as easy as that, or, you know, I checked the valve, something as hard as that, and none of that was it. But it was definitely fuel related. Just be sure to check everything soup to nuts, even if it doesn't seem initially like it. There may be some condition. The only thing I can figure is with the vibration of the engine moving, it was enough to stop the vacuum. And again, the bike ran fine at speed. As long as you're on a throttle, it ran fine. Only when you let it idle did it want to stall, and only after riding it. If you rode it, or if you just started, and it would start right back up. It started a little bit hard, but it would start back up and idle fine until you rode it to the next stop sign, or the next time you pulled on the clutch to coast for whatever reason. That's my long story. I'll probably make one video out of that.